All right, so the second passing play that I utilize in this formation is actually going to be the play sticking up, right? So sticking up is kind of my freestyle type play, right, where I just kind of make different hot routes depending on what I see on the field. And what makes this more effective really is having that slot apprentice, but you don't necessarily have to have it. So I'll call sticking up, and let's just go against. Let's just go against cover three sky, right? So what I can do, and what the reason I like having the slot apprentice is I can easily do something like this, right? And I have, the street corner flat, which is obviously very effective, always has been, always will be. Then you have this backside post. You've got a little bit better spacing than a compressed set, right? So you can do, you can kind of stretch the zones horizontally. So right here, I could just snap throw to that tight end. You can see my tight end has a ton of space, right? Or I could even I could do something like this, motion this guy out, drag with a pivot, and then have that over the top. Then you have the two underneath routes with the drag pivot. We've kind of done the same thing from the tight Y off, right? Where we have the drag and then the pivot coming in right behind it. Same concept. And you can always do the very basic concepts too, like curl flat, right? You just read the field. If they have hard flats, then you just throw it to the curl. If not, then throw that thing right in the Jerry. Very basic type stuff, right? I like spread sets too, especially with this current meta, with this zone drops, the flats being at 30 yards, because you can actually make the smoke routes effective. Like if I did something like, one of the combos I like is this. This is a bad example because I didn't set up the 30-yard drops or whatever, but you can make smoke routes more effective. You can kind of create like a makeshift screen per se. Let's just say I'm gonna shade everybody up, right? And a lot of times, if you can make that first guy miss, then the second guy gets blocked, right? So if you make this guy miss, then you see how he goes to block him, or you can just do let's just do something like this. It's a very similar concept. It's not great in this example. When you have 30-yard flats, just imagine these flats are 30 yards back, then you have a lot more space to kind of maneuver. So yeah, I mean, I love the post. It's not just a quick side note. If this was cover 1, this actually doesn't do a great job on the initial cut of beating man coverage. You have to kind of wait till it gets across the field a little bit more. So I'm going to go in, do I have a cover 1 hole? I do. I'm going to take this guy out of the way. I'm just going to man him up on the far receiver. Now, I've seen scenarios where he'll play this really, really well. Like, see how he's kind of get across the field more? Like, if you were to throw it on the initial cut, he can almost undercut it. So in years past, it would just absolutely torch it as soon as he cut, but now it's not quite the same. So that was actually a really good one right there. But he's still in an area where I feel like he can get a swat on it. Should just be a little weary of that. I'm not a huge fan of the stick and nod route. In other Maddens, maybe. In this, like the safety comes over and just completely boxes it. You've already got the other two receivers covered by the corners or whatever, and the safety comes over from the other side and just kind of boxes it. So it's a little inconsistent. It's not horrible. I guess you could kind of use it as if you're throwing a lot of pivot routes in here and you're playing against zone coverage, they're probably going to look at that like he's going to run flat, and then boom, you have that. But that's a risky throw. So maybe against a cover 2, right? So if we were to go Tampa 2 and say they were kind of using the middle of the field, I'm going to kind of simulate this. The person's going to try to maybe use this drag. So I put the drag out on the field. you use there's that, and then that cuts up the middle, maybe. But like the other route is kind of in the same area, so it's kind of hit or miss, right? You know, you can still do some funky things like if I wanted to, let's see, smoke. You can't smoke and then motion. Sorry. If I wanted to do like double pivots or something like this, right? Something goofy. They're at different levels, and that's that's just kind of like, I don't know if you see like they're running different man assignments with zone coverage, then it can kind of throw them off a little bit. Or if you have the slot apprentice and you want to do this, like that's just not a bad shot against like cover 2. Something like that. But that, like I said, this is kind of my freestyle. This is a play I use to beat primarily zone coverage, and I'll do a lot of different motions and so on and so forth. So that's how we use that play. We're going to go ahead and take a look at 1, 2, maybe 3 more passing plays, and then just kind of one little tricky way to make the draw a little bit more effective.